Of course, we all love our favorite superheroes who reliably save the day, but let's not forget about the villains that make their acts of heroism possible. The Joker is one of the most iconic villains around, and he has no shortage of fans who are desperate to get Jared Leto's version out of their heads. Marvel may not have the Joker, but in many ways, Carnage is an incredibly similar villain, and we saw hints of him during the post-credits scene in Venom. Let's break down the formula of making a great villain and reveal what these two seemingly unconnected characters have in common. The Joker is a character that really needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give him one anyway, mostly because he's just that awesome. He was right there in the first issue of Batman back in 1940, and this was supposed to be both his first and last appearance. Regarding his origin story, he has a handful of different ones, and it's implied that even the Joker isn't sure which one's the most accurate. Most of them involve him falling into a vat of toxic chemicals, which is something generally not recommended. In Batman Volume 2, number 38, it's revealed that his spine contains a chemical compound which allows him to heal faster than the average person, and he's able to withstand pain that most people could not. But really, his most iconic trait is just being super crazy. He might be insane, but he's still a genius, and is able to create all sorts of handy and dangerous gadgets and wield them effectively, from simple sharpened playing cards to toxic Joker venom. Carnage, on the other hand, is as far away from the average human as you could possibly get. The only thing he has in common with humans is that he has a body, but it's not really his. He's just borrowing it. Carnage is an alien symbiote who spawned from Venom and ended up attaching to mentally insane criminal Cletus Kasady. He's got a list of powers a mile long. He can shape-shift, infect others with symbiotes, regenerate, and his stats like strength, speed, and agility are all totally maxed out. If the Joker and Carnage ever came to blows, I have a feeling Carnage would have the last laugh. These two characters are different in terms of strength, but they have a lot of similar traits, despite the fact that one is a guy who probably fell into a vat of chemicals at some point and the other is an alien symbiote. Let's go ahead and start out with the most obvious thing these two have in common. Despite the Joker's obsession with playing cards, neither one of them is playing with a full deck. As for what exactly is wrong with the Joker, well, Dr. Harley Quinn tried to figure that one out once, and look what happened to her. Like many long-running comic book characters, there have been many different versions over the years. In The Killing Joke, he suffers from a broken coping mechanism, and tries to get others to laugh as a way to cope with his own trauma. In Tim Burton's Batman, he had parts of his brain corroded by chemicals, and this likely impacted his impulse control and self-awareness. In most iterations, the Joker comes across as an unpredictable sociopath with very poor impulse control. He seems to suffer from severe mania, gets overly obsessed with things, and basically has zero chill. In JLA number 11, Superman and the Martian Manhunter end up going through a physical representation of the Joker's mind, and it's pretty wild. Superman describes the experience as chaos, and wonders how Joker can even function with all that going on inside of his head. Just to highlight how crazy Joker is, we've seen him turn sane a number of times. And it's quite a remarkable difference. In Batman White Knight, the Joker takes medication, causing him to become sane and start a political campaign against Batman's vigilante justice. As for Carnage, he and Cletus definitely have their struggles as well. As a child, Cletus exhibited signs of becoming a serial killer. He hurt animals, mortally wounded his own grandmother, and was the victim of abuse himself. Cletus had a worldview that was an unsettling combination of nihilistic and homicidal. Actually, that also describes the Joker a lot of the time. When Cletus merged with the alien symbiote to become Carnage, his worst impulses were magnified exponentially and combined with Carnage's insatiable hunger. He's a completely ruthless sociopath who revels in the chaos caused by his random acts of violence. Chaos is something extremely important to both these characters. They absolutely thrive in it and make it their missions to personally cause as much as possible. Needless to say, they're not big on following the rules, and they don't display any empathy for other people. But the Joker and Carnage fulfill very specific roles in their respective universes. Basically, they were created to be the rivals of certain characters. There's a reason why the Joker's so obsessed with taking down Batman and vice versa. They're complete opposites in almost every way, and that is what makes the battles between them so compelling. Batman loves enforcing the law and maintaining order. He's all about being organized and doing what's right, while the Joker is out to cause as much pandemonium as possible, no matter who has to get hurt for his amusement. But despite the differences between Batman and the Joker, they have a few things in common. They're both mere mortals, they're both extremely intelligent, and they love compensation for their lack of superpowers by devising nifty gadgets. They're the yin and the yang of Gotham City, and that is why they're still such a popular pairing after 8 whole decades. And then you have Carnage and his parent Venom. They're both alien symbiotes, but Carnage helps make Venom look a lot more normal by comparison. They have a lot in common in terms of powers, but Carnage doesn't demonstrate the same capacity for compassion as Venom does. Okay, so he's not a warm and fuzzy guy, but Venom demonstrated that he's capable of caring for other people. He's also done his best to help out Eddie Brock, and not just because he uses him as a host. Both Carnage and Joker are designed to be the perfect matchup to another character. They have enough in common to make them compelling foes, but enough differences that help highlight their individual personalities. Another interesting aspect of these characters is how they interact with the people around them. They have no problem amassing followers, but don't treat them kindly to say the least. The Joker's relationship with Harley Quinn is absolutely infamous for being unhealthy, and it's why you should majorly side-eye anyone who thinks their relationship goals. They're either a terrible person or they aren't up to date on their comic book lore. Really, it's hard to say which of those things is worse. No matter how dedicated Harley Quinn is to the Joker, he does nothing but manipulate her and discard her the moment he feels she's no longer useful to him. He's never had trouble amassing followers, even though he's a less than ideal boss. In short, he just doesn't play well with others, but people still follow him anyway. Cletus's relationship with Shriek is similar to Joker's with Harley Quinn. He's always planned to dispose of her once he grew tired of her. Even when he was seemingly kind to her, it was only because he viewed her as an extension of himself and his property and not out of any genuine kindness. The most loving relationship he has is with the Carnage symbiote, and that's far from healthy. Carnage has no trouble gaining followers, since he can infect and enslave people with his brain worms. He really takes the phrase making friends way too literally. Now, let's talk about the fact that we're nowhere near done with these two characters. The Joker's been in so many movies, and yet we can't get enough. Carnage is going to be coming to the big screen in Venom 2, and we can't wait to see it. Is it because they both keep raising the bar of awfulness? Because they've done some truly heinous things over the years? Even before he made the acquaintance of the symbiote, Cletus straight up burned down an orphanage. And when he was locked up in Ravencroft Institute, he overpowered his psychiatrist, drilled a hole in his head, and turned him into a cannibalistic lunatic with the help of the symbiote. It's actually not unlike what happened between the Joker and Harley Quinn at Arkham Asylum, minus the symbiote and cannibalism thing. Remember when I said that the Joker isn't always the best guy to work for? The 2008 story Joker by Brian Azzarello shows firsthand what it's like to be an employee, and it's not pretty. A lackey named Munty made the mistake of having Harley Quinn dance in his club, and the Joker responds by flaying him alive. It's not a very intricate scheme, but wow, is it gruesome. Again, the Joker isn't upset about Harley potentially being hurt. He's just upset that someone else was using what he views as his property. Carnage is also a fan of large-scale destruction, like in the Maximum Carnage storyline. Carnage gets all of his pals together to go on a majorly murderous crime spree that attracts the attention of a whole host of superheroes, including Spider-Man, Captain America, and Venom. Shriek fills everyone in New York City with violent rage, and in the end, Carnage is only stopped because he ultimately turned on his fellow villains. I know I've harped on the fact that he and the Joker are terrible bosses, but imagine how grim things would be if they could actually collaborate with their fellow evildoers for long periods of time. Interpersonal skills might not be considered a superpower, but they're still very important. It's all about that vertical synergy, you know? Arkham Asylum and Ravencroft Institute are both important settings for both of these characters, because let's not forget that they're not just both criminals, they're also criminally insane. The very heavy-handed mid-credit scene in Venom showed Eddie Brock interviewing an incarcerated Cletus Kasady who promises to escape and cause carnage. Yeah, it's really subtle foreshadowing. Meanwhile, the movie Joker gave us a version of the character suffering from serious mental health problems with few resources for help. Their increasingly erratic behavior is one of the reasons we still find them compelling characters after all this time. We might not know exactly what they're going to be doing next, but we do know that it's going to be very, very interesting. Well, what do you think of the similarities between these two classic comic book characters? And which one's your favorite? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. And don't forget to click on that subscribe button for the latest videos from CBR. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.